Hi, I'm Bill from CJ Pony Parts. We all love the look of a lowered Mustang, and for most owners though, that means putting a set of lowering springs on and calling it a day. The problem with that is the factory shocks and struts really weren't up to working with a lowering spring, and over time performance is going to suffer. If you want to lower your car properly, the best thing to do is get shocks and struts that are meant to work with a lowered stance. Our 92 GT here, we recently installed a set of iBox Pro Kit lowering springs. Today we're going to further improve the performance and handling by installing these KONI STR.T shocks and struts. The STR.Ts are also commonly known as the KONI Street or the KONI Orange. They're an excellent replacement shock and strut for your 1979 through 1993 Fox body Mustang. These will work great with a lowered car. They also make a great replacement just for the high mileage originals you might have on your Fox body. Both the strut and shock have fixed damping and will work great for daily drivers or performance cars. They give you a nice mix of excellent comfort and a high performance ride. For this installation, you need a lift, a jack and a pole jack, or a jack and jack stands, 3/8 ratchet, 17mm socket, 18mm socket, 19mm socket, short extension, 1/2" ratchet or impact gun, 13mm socket, 21mm socket, 24mm socket, 18mm wrench, 21mm wrench, 24mm wrench, 6mm Allen key, and a small hammer. First step in the process is to get the car off the ground and remove our front wheels. Then we're going to remove the caliper, remove everything else we have to, so we're going to remove the original strut. And you want to safely support it out of the way. Now before you remove the strut, you want to put a jack underneath the control arm to support it, because the spring cylinder and springs under a lot of tension. Now we can remove the strut and slightly lower it down to get it off the car. Now we're going to move up top and remove the strut nut so we can remove the strut itself. These are all the components from the factory strut. In our case, they were aftermarket, but these are all the original parts. We'll put the strut aside. Now normally, all this stuff with the exception of the nut, the components come with a new one, would be transferred over. But in our case, we're actually installing caster camber plates as well. We're not going to be using any of this stuff here. All we're going to use is just the boot. In our case, we only need the boot. We don't need this rubber part here. So we're going to move this metal clamp. That it's well, and just keep the boot. Now we're ready to put our KONI strut back in the car. Again, we are using a Maximum Motorsports caster camber plate. If you're using your original plates, put the factory spacer on here from the top. In our case, we're using smaller spacers that work with the Maximum Motorsports parts. Now the strut through the bearing plate, same thing up top. Small washer, large washer, and then the nut. The strut hanging loosely, now we can reconnect the spindle. Okay, final step down here is to reinstall the caliper. Now to lower in place, we can tighten the strut nut up. And we're going to repeat the process on the other side and move on to the rears. Okay, moving on to replacing the rear shocks, we're going to start by supporting the rear axle itself. So remove the bolt that holds the shock to the axle. Okay, now let's lower the car down. Everything else will support it. Now we're going to go into the trunk to remove the top. The top shock mounts are under these covers. Take a small screwdriver underneath, pop them right off. Sometimes you got to move a little sound deadening out of the way. And you can see it sitting right there. And that'll put our new shock up into place. Now put the new bushing on. Washer and then the new bolt. Okay, now we can reinstall the cover. Just pop back into place, move back under the car. All right, now move the shock over, lift the rear into place. Okay, you want to repeat the process on the other side and your installation is finished. The KONI STR.Ts were the perfect choice for a 1992 Mustang GT. The fixed valving they use in the shocks and struts will work fine with the factory springs, but works even better with lowering springs like the Pro Kit we installed on this car previously. The installation is fairly straightforward, probably take you between 2 and 3 hours and you'll be back on the road in no time.